Fit, Fitness and Wellness for Women, based in Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. And through all this COVID-19 excitement, I have had to close down my studio. So I'm now offering virtual classes and support via Instagram, Facebook, my website. I have an online members community already, but I'm going to start by posting more here on YouTube. So one of the things that sets EmpowerFit apart from other gyms is that we cater to the pregnant and postpartum community. So women who are currently pregnant, women who have just had babies, and any stage of motherhood. We believe that education around things like pelvic floor dysfunction, the changes that women experience both physically and mentally and emotionally during pregnancy and postpartum is super important. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about today was how the stress of this COVID-19 crisis can be wreaking havoc on your pelvic floor. We tend to think just in physical terms when it comes to our pelvic floor symptoms. So you might be experiencing things like urinary leaking. You might be experiencing things like heaviness or bulgingness in the pelvis. You might even feel like something is actually falling or hanging out of your vagina or your anus. You may be feeling pain that no matter what you do, you can't get it to go away. And pelvic floor physical therapy has never been an option for you or has never even been a consideration for you. And we can find, and studies show and research shows, that stress can directly impact our pelvic floor and our pelvic floor symptoms. And so if you were out there, you've already been experiencing symptoms, or maybe you never have and all of a sudden you are, since all of this has started to happen, it's related because our pelvic floor is actually innervated by the pendial nerve, I think that's how you say it. And basically that nerve is a response. It responds to fear, stress, anxiety. Even just watching a scary movie can send signals down to that pelvic floor to contract and react without us even thinking about it. And so when we're in a high stress situation like COVID-19, or maybe it's just your day-to-day stress before this, maybe job, personal, whatever it might be, we know that this stress can have a huge impact on our pelvic floor. And this is a really great tool. I'm going to give you some breathing strategies that you can do to help reduce those symptoms and help you bring that stress response down so that you can hopefully reverse some of those symptoms and improve them so that you are not struggling. So the first way to always reduce stress and go to is breathe. It sounds so simple, and a lot of people out there think that, yes, it's boring, but when you are peeing your pants or feeling like your insides are falling out or you are in pain, then I think you probably would want any tool that you have handy, whether it's boring or not. And breath, tuning into our breath, slowing down our breath, reducing the stimulation to our nervous system is super important. And you can do this laying down, sitting up, drinking your coffee, in bed, it doesn't really matter. But I want you to find some spot where you can quiet yourself, quiet your mind, maybe even just turn on some calming music, and we're gonna relax to the breath. So our pelvic floor responds just like any other muscle. It should be dynamic. It acts like a sling at the bottom of our pelvis, and it should move up and down, or like a sling that expands and contracts, just like any other muscle. We want to allow it, if it's constantly too tight due to stress or due to clenching without us even knowing it. Maybe you're an athlete or a really active person and that pelvic floor is really tight. There's lots of reasons it might be. We want to allow that pelvic floor time to descend and relax, and just like any other muscle. So we're going to do that with breath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down. And like I mentioned, that pelvic floor is like a sling. So we're going to imagine that that sling is descending and relaxing and growing. If you want, you can always open up your knees like this. You can even put your fingertips in the insides of your pubic bones just to give you that tactile feedback and that sensation of whether or not you're able to tune into those muscles here. If you want to get really personal, you can also put a finger or fingers or a tool inside just to give you that feedback and that sensation. Don't feel awkward or weird about it. It's normal. A lot of people have a hard time tuning into the pelvic floor muscles if you've never done it before. So you can also put your hands on your belly so that you can send your breath down into your belly. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple deep breaths. Breathe all the way in and send that breath, just like a gentle balloon of breath down to that pelvic floor so you feel a slight pressure. I don't want you to bear down as if you're peeing or having a poop, but I want you to send a gentle breath, almost like you're filling a balloon inside of you and sending some pressure down there just to allow those muscles to move. Then when you exhale, imagine it melting even more. And tune into whether or not you're clenching your butt. A lot of us are butt clenchers. Let your belly get soft. Let your groin and your inner thighs get soft. And we're just going to lay here for a few minutes and do a couple extra breaths. Big inhales. Send that breath down to the pelvic floor. Relax. You might feel your low back start to loosen. Couple more breaths. Sending that breath all the way down to the pelvis. Another cue I like to give is if you are sending breath down to the pelvis, imagine you're sending it down to the perineum, which is the space between your anus and your vagina. If you can imagine sending breath down and just nudging the perineum with your breath, that helps kind of get that center of that pelvic floor. And just let it all melt away. Another good one, if you are struggling with prolapse or heaviness in the pelvis, you can also get onto your hands and knees, put your bum up in the air and head down on the floor and do your breaths in this position and let gravity do some of the work for you. Imagine opening up the pelvic floor behind you as you inhale and letting it relax as you exhale. Everything should get soft. There should be no tension. You may also want to go against a wall and place your feet up a wall and lay down flat on the ground, feet up the wall, and do some breaths that way. But remember that during all of this, while stress is high, your symptoms may get worse. But this is a really easy strategy for you to try to bring that stress response down and therefore impact and influence your symptoms and make them better. If you need more assistance, stay here. I'm going to be posting every single day about different pelvic floor, abdominal, pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood tips. And if you need any help getting connected to a pelvic floor physiotherapist that are offering telehealth appointments during this time, please comment and let me know, and I'd be happy to send you information. Bye.